Having the ability to understand why your training sessions are not working or why they will work will change your life. This is extremely important because it will help you remain fully invested in your training sessions. And if you are fully invested, you are going to be committed long term. What exactly will you get from this video? If you give this video your full attention, you will be equipped to evaluate your own training sessions for how good and how best they are going to get you to achieve your goals. Who the hell am I? My name is Paul Green, and I'm a former British paratrooper and Special Forces support group operator. I have spent most of the past decade delivering physical training to elite individuals across defence, including the British paratroopers, the Royal Marines and the RAF. So I hope that my words have a little bit of weight. As always with me, I will go into a little bit of theory to start off with. Keep that theory in the back of your head as I am saying my pieces when I bring up the videos. I'm going to then bring up some videos showing you the general methods of training nowadays for men over 40, what most men will do. I will then introduce you to a more optimal mindset of training. And then lastly, being able to bring it into your life as soon as possible. If not, at least you learn some cool shit and carry on as you currently are. But you decide. Does that sound like a decent plan to you? Nice one. Okay, basic theory. I reckon 90 seconds I can get through this. You've got 3 muscle contractions. You've got isometric, eccentric and concentric. Isometric is iso meaning one and metric meaning length. One length, it doesn't change. Basically, when your muscle contracts friggin' really hard but doesn't change in length and there is no change in the joint angles. And then into my first video. I'm going to try and go so fast here. So muscle and motion. Helping out again today. As you can see, shortening and lengthening of the muscle. Concentric, shortening. Eccentric, lengthening. I'm going to stop that there. Let's bring it into reality. I think there's a couple of exercises here. Concentric, bicep curl. Eccentric, the lowering of the bicep curl. Absolutely awesome, thank you very much. Muscle and motion. Muscle and motion. Get rid of that video. Back to the slides. Right, okay. With that in mind, just have a little bit of a moment now. Do you hit each one of them muscle contractions in your current training? The reason I ask is a couple of videos ago I was absolutely beast in yoga. Because yoga predominantly focuses only on one of them muscle contractions and it's not very loadable. You're only training basically a third of your ability by doing yoga. That's me being generous, by the way. Anyway, 3 muscle contractions. One is holding the same length of contraction really tightly, one is lengthening and one is shortening. Are you prioritizing all 3 of them muscle contractions in your current training? Keep that in the back of your mind. Right, I'm just going to go into a little bit of a rant here, right? Pilates and yoga, very relaxed, very loose, very passive. Your muscles work in opposites. When one muscle is loose, the other one has to be tight. And a lot of stuff I see with these is both muscles are loose. Anyway, let's forget about that. Rant over. Downward dog. We have the hamstrings, the calves in a lengthened position, working isometrically. I hope they're working isometrically. However, if she's chilling, then they're not. They're working passively. Now we're in a core position, and again, all of this stuff, is it loadable? Yes, we are working the end ranges, but is it loadable? Can we actually improve our strength? Another popular method of training. we have calisthenics. A pike push-up, pretty hard on the shoulders. You know, you're working your shoulders eccentrically there, probably through about half range, and concentrically through about half range. It's okay. It's a fairly advanced exercise for your shoulders, but you're not getting full range of motion. Pull-up. There's not really much I can say about a pull-up. It's a banging exercise. It's full range of motion. I'm going to pause this. Let's see if I can get another. Notice how he was doing that with his shoulder blades. I'm going to go back. So all the way up, look at his elbows, and his wrists are nearly touching his biceps. Full range. The lats. And it's all the way down. All the way down. Full extension of the shoulder blades all the way up. Full range of motion. Pull-ups is a great exercise. Right, next one. So we have an isometric contraction here of the core, but the core is it's a shortened position. Yeah, he's got his reasons for wanting to do this in order to improve his movements within the calisthenics world. It will result in a good six-pack. No, it won't. Right, this, right, hollow hold, good, it's okay. Shortening of the ab muscles, but you're holding the shortened position. How do you load it? How do you make it harder? After a certain amount of time, 20 seconds of that, 30 seconds of that, it'll be a doddle. So what do? Do you squeeze harder? You see what I'm saying? You're only working one of the muscle contractions. Next exercise on this, because there is a couple of good ones. Dips. Great exercise. So all the way up, all the way down. Get this shitty right now. Right. Probably go a little bit further down. Obviously it's going to help with a multitude of movements in the calisthenics world. Works the chest and shoulders, and if he went down a little bit further, he would get more out of his triceps and get more out of his chest. Anyway, calisthenics is okay, however it's capped. It's not very loadable. Do you know what I'm saying? So you've got eccentric, concentric and isometric, and then you've got to ask yourself, can I load these and really improve my strength with these muscle contractions? What else have we got? There we go. There we go. Come on, mate. So he's running steady there. And as he increases the speed, the range of motion increases slightly. So there's more arms, the knees are coming up more, and the hamstrings are working more to drag him forward. And as he sprints, there's more range of motion. More range of motion. And there's more contractions. How many of you are sprinting? How many of you are going out for a jog? And the point I'm making is, if I can slow this down, he's got a really good technique. To be fair, he's got a really good running technique. But I'm just going to let this play through. I'm going to explain as it's going. Come on, shorts. Move my face out of the way. Right. So with running, muscles, the muscles that are working, right? You've got hip flexors. Anytime your knee comes off the floor and up, your hip flexors work a little bit. Are your hip flexors working through a full range of motion when you're running? They maybe get close when you are sprinting. But when you're jogging, you're just moving your knee up a little bit. You're doing like a quarter of a leg raise, right? And when you're jogging, when your heel comes off the floor towards your bum, a little bit of a hamstring curl. Are you working full range of motion? Are you working eccentric, concentric and isometric contractions? Well, upper body, you could say predominantly, yes, it is isometric, especially as your core has to stabilise and stuff like that. But you're not really working the muscles that much or that well or that effectively. That's why you look at marathon runners. You look at the London Marathon the other week. Have you seen the state of their bodies? Look at the state of them. They look like they're just going to collapse with old age. They look awful. However, they do not have an ounce extra of muscle because their goal is to be as quick as possible. So their body weight has to be as low as possible with that. Anyway, these elite runners are doing very productive, very effective strength training sessions as part of their overall yearly program. Are you? Okay. So hopefully I've brought to life how them 3 contractions sit within a typical person's training. And I'd like you to just be able to reflect. Do you do any of them training methods? Are you missing out by not prioritising 2 of the other 3 contractions? And you might be doing them, but are they loadable, and are you loading them? That's it for theory, really. Obviously, I'm asking you the questions here because I hope you can appreciate, this actually makes sense now. Nobody teaches this stuff, and fortunately, I've been surrounded by some really top coaches the past few years, and I had that light bulb moment about 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, makes so much sense. It makes so much sense now. Anyway, I've went through the generic training methods. Like I said earlier on, do any of you do this? How is it working for you? And in particular, how is it helping your joint pain? Is it improving your joint strength? Is it improving your strength, power or speed? How long have you been doing these training methods? How long have you been thinking this way? Like I said earlier on, the aim of this video is to give you that light bulb moment about the 3 contractions, and I'd like to think that maybe some of yous are missing out on a lot. Okay, I'm just going to move my head back up here, front and centre. I've mentioned what's happening. I tried to go through it. It was a little bit quick, but hopefully you appreciated me breaking it down with regards to them 3 contractions. The cost. So the cost of continuing on this path of just mincing, just winging it a little bit. The cost is your joints will not be strong. With like your yoga and Pilates and stuff like that, yes, you may increase in mobility, you may be able to get into more different poses, more advanced poses, but you're not improving strength. Strength is what basically makes your joints resilient and less likely to get any sort of issues in the future. And the only way you can do that is by what we're going to go on to. I'm so mysterious, aren't I? What else? Have I missed anything here? I'm just going to give myself a moment. So, like I said on them videos there, the ability to load, get them 3 contractions in, and the load ability. Because if they aren't in place, if these aren't what you are prioritising in your training sessions, you will never improve your power, speed or strength. You may improve your strength a little bit, but you're only going to improve 33% of it if you're doing yoga. And that's me being generous. Anyway, I don't want to frigging prop and blow your head off, because I do get that people don't understand this stuff. I'm trying to make it as simple. So like I've just said there, do you think there's room, with what you now know, is there any room for improvement in your current training philosophies, in your current training sessions? If there is, then keep on watching. Okay, I'm just going to try and make this a bit more easier on the eyes. Anyway, never mind. So, training for longevity, strengthening your joints through a full range of motion. Oh yeah. Remember, isometric, which one is it? Concentric, which one is it? Eccentric, which one is it? Isometric, same length. Concentric, shortening. Eccentric, lengthening. Alright then. We have an absolute legend that helped me with my look. Right, I'm just going to stop this straight off the bat. Right, look at this. if you do not train your knee, I now think about when I program for people, I do not think about the muscles anymore. I think about the joints. If you do not aim, or you do not find a starting point in which you can get your hamstring to your calf and achieve full knee flexion, you are missing out on a lot of gains, especially around certain parts of your quad which surround the knee joint. If you are doing half squats because you have low levels of mobility, you are only strengthening the top part of your quad. You aren't strengthening the parts of the quad that are around the knee. There is ways in which you, depending on your mobility levels, there is ways in which you can get yourself into this position. And obviously it's my job as a fully legendary online coach to find your start point. If that's something you're interested in, give us a shout. Links are all over the place in my descriptions and on my channel. But the purpose of this channel is to educate you, so then you don't need to come to me. Like he is doing here. If you raise the front leg high enough, you will be able to get into this position, and you will be able to work your knee through its end range. You will be able to work it isometrically. By holding this position, he is in an isometric hold. He is strengthening them surrounding structures of the knee isometrically. If he was to push up, there would be shortening of the quad muscles. And that would be the concentric. And then when he was lowering, it would then be eccentric of the surrounding structures of the knee. But he can only get there if he is at the end range of the knee. So if any of you have any knee problems, then I do recommend you really digesting what I've just said. And as he gets more strong, not flexible, as he gets stronger at this movement, he will be able to lower his front leg a little bit, because he's now not getting tired in this position. So he can lower his leg a little bit, and then incrementally, as he gets more strong, not more flexible. It's not more flexible. It's strong. But notice, this, you could call this a yoga pose. Like, he's stood in like a warrior pose essentially. But his intent is to strengthen. His intent is to move through that range of motion. And once he can move through the range of motion to a reasonable standard, he will then grab dumbbells, grab kettlebells, grab a power bag, and he will then continue to gain more strength, more isometric strength, because he's holding that bottom position there, hamstring to calf, for a few seconds before he goes back up. So he's getting the isometric, tick. He's going up with intent, concentric, tick. Eccentric, he's really controlling it on the way down. Next video. This is a guy called Range of Strength. The guy last video, by the way, is Ben Patrick. He's an absolute legend. Anyway, this is a very short range of motion exercise, right? Notice how he's barefoot. Barefoot, connecting his feet to the floor, will help him start to liven up and start to strengthen the muscles that surround the foot and ankle. We don't appreciate, we wear these fancy shoes, we wear boots at work, whatever. There's a lot of stability on offer nowadays in modern footwear that basically wraps our feet in bubble wrap. Get your shoes off. Train barefoot sometimes. It'll help. It'll help strengthen these smaller muscles and smaller bones, smaller ligaments in your lower limbs. Anyway, so here we have a very short range of motion exercise, right? And if an extremely short range of motion targets a certain area of weakness, like such a vital area to you getting, pain free, improving your joint strength, then that exercise should definitely be considered. Now, this exercise works literally just above and just below the knee. It's because you're doing like a little bit of a leg extension. I'm going to play it back a little bit. He's just doing mini leg extensions. So forget the so this is his warm-up. Sledge push, sledge pull. Little mini leg extensions. And he's got a band round his waist, and obviously you can load that up. Like I said earlier on, you know, full range of motion is the gold standard. But when you can really target weaker areas with short range of motion, and you're now thinking about it, that's fine. It's completely fine. And the sled, whatever you want to call it, is amazing. So he's gonna go into now his isometric hold. He's all the way down, and I fully appreciate that. You probably can't get in that position. So what do you do? Stand on have your heels on a plate. Get a 20 kilogram plate. Put your heels underneath it. Get all the way down. I don't care if your back's forward. Try and get all the way down. If you do not have the ankle mobility to get all the way down, then what can you do to just basically get in that bottom position? Because I'm just going to stop him at the bottom position. Give me one more. Bosh. Anyway, like I said earlier on, the amount of benefit he's going to get around his knees by going all the way down. Bang. I'm going to go back a second. There, right? And you could probably even argue that you could get like about a centimetre lower than that. Okay, now bringing it back to your life and your reality. If he was to elevate his heels, if he was to stand, see the blue plates that he's using there for the squat, if he was to stand, get his heels on one of them, as if he was wearing, you know, high heels, this would take his ankle mobility completely out the game. Like a lot of us have really tight calves. Our ankle mobility is really poor. With that, it's very difficult for our knee to come over our toe. So if we completely take that out of the equation and go, okay, I can't get all the way down without jeopardising my back. What can I do to do that? It's going to be two things. It's going to be your ankle mobility or your hip mobility. If it's your hip, your back will just go, it'll come really far forward. If it's your ankle, you just won't be able to go that far down. You'll end up like nearly falling back or whatever. So start taking these limitations completely out the game in order for you to get all the way down. Now, like Ben Patrick's split squat version earlier on, without even having to do a normal squat, he's doing a split squat and he's elevating the front leg in order to get hamstring to calf. The beauty of that is the rear leg is fully extended, so you're stretching the rear leg hip flexor as well. Anyway, you've got a couple of options now. So I'm just going to go over here. And as you can see with what I've just shown you, there is more full range of motion, there is more loadability, there is greater balance between all three muscle contractions, and the cost of that is you have to be present with you have to be present in when you're working this stuff. You can't just be relaxed. You have to think about the muscles that are actually working. So it requires something called mind-muscle connection. Just a little bit of an awareness of what is going on here, and not being too scared to get yourself into these weird positions. Because getting your hamstring to your calf, it's not a very common position, especially people at our age. So yeah, it requires you not to be passive. Yoga and stuff like that teaches a lot of breathing, a lot of just be passive, relax, forget about your day, let all the negativity go out of you and just relax and release. And this requires you to be active, so you have to be present. Cool. And this stuff can be loaded to an extent that it can train your power. I mentioned the running. So with the running, with good programming, you would build up a little bit of running to start off with, but then that progress onto speed, which would be your sprint training. And it doesn't matter how old you are. If you train correctly, you've just take your time. Take your time with it. Anyway, all things considered, you've got the generic methods, which are very accessible to all. Like straight away, Pilates doesn't require any kit and equipment. You've got Joe Wicks's little bodyweight workouts. You've got calisthenics, which requires you to go down the park and try not to get locked up. You've got running, which is, again, running shoes. What else is there? You know what I mean? Just accessible stuff. It's really easy. Everybody can do it. It makes you feel good. However, just a little bit of brain power, you can make some unbelievable changes to your training. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because, these knees, like, get your knees stronger, like this stuff, it's only a tiny bit of depth, but this stuff is really important, and you can do it outside. You don't really need a gym. Obviously a gym is the gold standard. A gym will make you get results a lot quicker, but a lot of the times it's just a change in thinking and you getting a little bit creative. And obviously the question there, do any of you train like this currently? It would be amazing if we had comments of people that train the old way and the normal way, and they talk about the results that they've had. And it would also be amazing if there's people with the newer way of thinking. I say newer, but that range of strength guy. His name's Lucas. I'm literally just about to jump on one of his programs. He goes way back into the old school ways of lifting, and some of the lifts that he's doing is absolutely amazing. So, how do you bring this into your own life? So you have effective strength training, and your intention is to weight train through a full range of motion. You can sit in your house and do all this, but you're limited. You do all these movements, you improve your strength, then you can do, instead of doing raised front foot, you can do it on the floor after like 3 or 4 months. Great. Then what? Get strong. You're a man. Do you know what I mean? So have the intention to be loading this. When your technique is good, it's safe, and your technique is not jeopardized by you adding load, then add load. Get strong, especially in these areas around your joints. Why do you think it is useful to get strong muscles around your joints? So with this little bit here, right, I'm going to go backwards and forwards between it. It kind of gives you the ability to forget about everything you ever know. It's a bit like Matrix. Everything that you've ever believed about physical training. This now gives you a bit of a. It's like you can actually forget everything you think you know about training and just think, okay, I've got my 3 contractions, and I'm now trying to work the joints through a full range of motion. And I'm doing it through movements in which I intend to load in the future. So it's not necessarily about techniques or anything like that. It's just a mindset. It's a new way of thinking. And I'm going to go here. So, example session. I'm not going to lay out for your exercises and blah 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 demonstrations. But what I'm going to do is I have a video and I say, this is how you can create a program for yourself. You know, I uploaded it about 4 days ago or something like that. How do you do this? How do you start? So, because the joints are now the priority, you need to establish a start point for each of your main joints. So you need to pick an exercise, which the ATG split squat, by the way, will test three of your joints in the same go. It will test your ankle mobility, your knee mobility, and your hip mobility, all in the same movement. Wait there, I'm just going to plug my laptop in because it's telling me to do so, and I don't want to lose you. Please excuse me. Panic, 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 panic. Are we in? We're in. Right. Cool. Yes, so establishing a start point, which is basically you looking at the joints in which you really want to develop in. Okay, this is my start point. I'm now armed with the knowledge that I should be working all three of these muscle contractions. I'm now armed with the intent that I must try to achieve full range of motion. And if you have to regress the exercise slightly, which means make it easier, in order for you to achieve full range of motion, then do that. And the final thing, can I add load? Sorry, no, not can I add load. The final thing, I must be aiming to add load as soon as possible without jeopardizing technique. Yoga, if yoga added load through all these crazy ranges of motion they did do, yoga would be a hell of a lot better. Like I said earlier on, mind-muscle connection is a part of it also. But yeah, if you were to forget most of what you already know about physical training, you are now to prioritise the training of the surrounding structures of your joints. You pick a few movements which really expose the range of motion of your main joints, and then you load them over time. Honestly, amazing. Lads, I'm excited for you. Summary. Different muscle contractions. Eccentric, the lowering under control, the lengthening under control. Concentric, the shortening. And isometric. Understand more about the old school methods. I say old school, generic training methods that most people do. Why do they do them? Because they're accessible. Are they optimal? I'll let you decide. Understand more about this new way of thinking, and most importantly, it's videos like this. You know, the reason I do this stuff is just to give you some more tools. If you have any light bulb moments, then let me know in the comments below, because it makes my day. Yeah, lads, absolute pleasure if you made it this far in the video. Didn't expect it to go on for this long, but it's been good. I've enjoyed doing it. I'm sure it'll be useful to you. If you like this type of stuff, I post every day. Subscribe, like, comment, and pass it on to your mates that are currently in a little bit of a rut training. See you tomorrow.